cherish all the time you spend, you tuned in to. It's time again to cherish all the time you spend, you tuned in to. It's the number one podcast. The topics of discussion when we broadcast. So all them artificial man jokes, we do it natural from the concrete to a public standpoint. Real, wherever you're from, life is coexistence, but to know the real, you just gotta listen. Wherever you're from, life is coexistence, but to know the real.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the 52 Scott Podcast. I'm your host, K Money, and in the building with me, my co-host Slash, Freddie G, and Comedian 96. Collectively, we are the Mind of Men. You can find us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at 52 Scott Podcast, Instagram and Facebook, the 52 Scott Podcast, and if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like and or subscribe. Welcome, fellas, to another True Tuesday episode. Let me ask you fellas something. Have you guys heard of Isaac Wright Jr.?
No.
Vaguely. It comes to the Isaac part sounds. But
Okay, as I
Knows
talk
somebody
about him,
named Isaac.
as I talk about him, he may sound familiar to you guys. He's mainly known for being falsely accused and convicted as a drug lord, and he was sentenced to life in prison back in the early 90s. Wow. He was facing 10 charges involving the sales of cocaine. His conviction was overturned in 97. However, what's amazing to me about this man is while he was locked up, he studied law.
I do remember.
And ended up becoming a lawyer.
I do
and
remember.
he started representing prisoners that he was serving time with. So eventually he ended up, like I said earlier, his case was overturned and he ended up getting out. And the judge that had prosecuted him, he backdoored and was able to end up prosecuting this judge for corruption.
I did see that.
I believe it was the judge and the DA that was prosecuted for corruption. So there's actually a movie that was made about this story. In my research is when I found out about the movie, and 50 Cent had a lot to do with the movie.
Yeah, actually, it was a TV series.
It was a TV series.
Called Life.
For Life.
For Life. Yep.
It was on ABC, and I'm actually watching it now. I wish I had watched it a couple of weeks ago. I probably have better information on my story, but I just thought, the simple fact of being convicted of a drug kingpin, and then becoming a lawyer while you were locked up. Now, keep in mind, I stated that this was done in the early 90s, so you can imagine, the struggles that he had, first off, just trying to become a lawyer
in jail.
At all. Yeah, in jail. That had to be difficult in itself. But to maintain that path and exceed, the expectations of people that once supported you, because it has to sound far-fetched to become a lawyer, being locked up, and then to be locked up for life, to get folks to believe in you, for one, had to be hard, because I can imagine when he tried to, convince these convicts that he was serving time with, hey, let me represent you, had to be a struggle. And then, to get them to believe in you had to be a struggle. But I found this man's story amazing. Like I say, to serve time as he did and become a lawyer and then get out and prosecute those that had once prosecuted him. Now, in the movie, you know how a lot of times they do these movies, they will add some things that's fiction to the movie. In the movie, they had him going. He was actually, when he was defending some of these prisoners. Now, I don't know if this is actually part of the story or not, and I'm hoping it is. And my fault on not actually having all that information to know whether or not it's accurate or not. But he was going up against the DA. Well, he became the DA at the time, because this man had spent, I think, approximately 9 or 10 years already before he was able to. I said he was convicted in 91, and he got out in 97. So he spent 6 years convicted before he got out. But the DA at the time that he was representing these convicts was the assistant DA at the time he was convicted. So this is who the guy. This is, and the DA at the time, I think ended up becoming a judge, if I'm not mistaken. So he's facing the man, and he's going against the man in court, on more than one occasion throughout this process. Now, his plan was to study and expose the corruption in the manner and the way that he was defending these other convicts. Somehow, some way, he was tying how the DA and I guess the police force were corrupted in each case that he represented, which I thought was entirely smart and brilliant on his part, because he was already facing, the backlash of trying to become a lawyer.
What state did you say that was in?
This happened in New York.
New York. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, because the time frame is, I kind of commend anybody that comes out of prison, because first of all, in the workforce, it's already hard just being black to try to get a job.
Facts.
But then when you go to jail, you make it 10 times harder. The time frame was the same time. That's when the comedian Ali Sadiq, he went 91. He got out in 97. So I was like, I wonder if he was, since they were in together. But that's
different states, yeah.
Different states, though. But yeah, so when you go into prison and then you go in and you come out a lawyer, you come out successful, man, the obstacles, I can almost imagine in the 90s too, the obstacles, I can almost imagine the things he had to go through to get to where he is,
Yeah, I can imagine.
I know there was some, because I know you got, when you're free, you got law libraries you can go to. You got places you can go. I know some things he probably had to order and wait for in order to get his degree.
And that's another thing, just in him researching a lot of the cases that he was representing, just to get the information and case files from police, things of that nature, had to be difficult for him, and timing is the greatest of essence, especially when you're representing someone in court. Of course, he's going to know the future court date, so he has to prepare his case in the time frame that's given. But he was facing issues even just getting to court, with the convicts. The CO, or the what's the acronym for CO?
The CEO or
no CO, the prison guards.
Correctional officer.
Said the acronym CO.
Correctional officer.
Correctional officer.
Name.
That's what I meant. What CO, the acronym for, which is correction officer.
Yeah.
The correction officer that was driving the bus to court oftentimes delayed and got him there late, which made him look a certain type of way in the eyes of the judge that he was facing. So like I said, this man faced several obstacles but never detoured from what his original plan was, which is why I feel he was able to obtain, his law degree and get out and be successful as he was. Now, prior to him being locked up, it never said, if this man was actually involved in drugs or not. Actually, he had performed on Star Search with his wife and his daughter.
Really?
Yeah, they say, and he had actually they won several weeks.
Huh.
They were repeat performance. It doesn't say how long or how many times they won, but this was prior to his incarceration.
For some reason, I thought he was a nightclub owner.
Well, in the movie, that's what they show him as, a nightclub owner, but in doing the research, you never verified whether or not it was a nightclub or not. But in the movie, it showed that he was a nightclub, or he was a partner in owning a nightclub, and it was his partner that actually partner and childhood friend.
They got jammed up.
Yeah, and they pretty much flipped on him and
lied on him.
Made it seem as if they were doing what he was saying because he was the owner of the nightclub. Even though he had a partner, I guess paperwork-wise, it stated that he was the lone owner, and they were just doing as he was instructing, which is how he was falsely accused. When I saw this story, man, I was just amazed, again, at the accomplishments that Isaac had achieved. And how do you guys feel about someone of, one being convicted, falsely being convicted, which we know that happens a lot and we've talked about this in previous shows, but for someone to have been falsely convicted and then get out and kind of turn the tables on the justice system, I thought was amazing. And yes, Isaac Wright is a black man. How you guys feel about that?
I say the man had his mind in the right place to not let that overcome him being falsely accused.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You have to be a strong individual, man, with a certain type of mindset in order to withstand anything like that and become a business owner afterwards.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to be a strong. But see, we need more like that because there's so many of us now that are incarcerated falsely, mm-hmm. and they don't have that mind frame. Well, we don't know what their mind frame is, but it's not many came out like him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that would be, he's the guy to set the standard and follow that. If you are falsely accused and falsely imprisoned of a crime, you might want to talk to this guy and figure out how did he get through it? What did he do? What was his mindset? You know what I'm saying? How he dealt with people inside of, you know, the prison, knowing that it can be a lot of stuff go on. You got people in there that want to jab you. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you got people that's locked up that are actually locked up for life, so they don't really have a reason. I ain't gonna say a reason to live, but
right.
Their purpose is
they don't care about you.
Right. They don't have a care.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But he definitely offers hope for people that even if they're not locked up falsely, just locked up period. And didn't have an attorney that represented them to the best of their ability in that convict's eyes.
Yeah. So let me say this, man. So in regards to individual that's locked up falsely for life, that individual has everything to fight for because they actually know without a shadow of a doubt that they are innocent versus an individual who's locked up for life and lost in court, but they're actually guilty. Those individuals who fight for their freedom, who are actually guilty but just lost in court, mm-hmm. they're looking for loopholes on appeals.
Right.
So their fight is different from an individual's fight who's actually innocent. Because those people who are guilty, who just lost in court, they're just looking for loopholes on appeals. A person who's actually innocent, that's a whole nother battle. And let me also say this. This is my strong opinion. It's impossible for you to fight your case and become a lawyer without help from the outside. It's impossible. It's impossible. You got to have some help from the outside. And if you are an individual, in my opinion, that has that's falsely accused, have a life sentence, the first people you start with is the Innocent Project.
The Innocent Project?
Yes.
Can you clarify what the Innocent Project is?
Those are people who help individuals who are falsely accused.
Oh, it's actually it's an organization?
Yes, it's an organization, the Innocent Project.
Okay.
So a lot of those people start there.
I wish we had a phone number for them. Just remember the Innocent Project if you listening. Anybody listening? Go ahead, Fred. I'm sorry.
No, I was listening to what you were saying, trying to understand what you were saying.
Yeah, because I mean, you gotta think if somebody's in prison, listen to our podcast and they don't know. I'd like them to have some contact information.
So let me say this, man. Like, man, when you're in prison, mm-hmm. you may hear this a lot. People say this a lot, and we've said it on the show. We can say it on the show a million times. But it really does start with the mind. What type of frame of mind are you in when you get there and you want to fight and you want to prove you're innocent, or you are innocent but they argued the law wrong mm-hmm. and they found you guilty? Because let me say this here, man. Your defense attorney don't care whether you're innocent, whether you did it or you didn't. Mm-hmm. All they care about is the law. Let me go in here and argue the law. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you did it or didn't do it. Let me go and argue the law. So when you're charged with these charges, man, you go up in there, man, and you actually in prison, you're found guilty, you went to trial. I ain't say plead guilty. You went to trial and you was found guilty.
Right.
You go and now you're locked up, you're in prison. Now, this is where your mindset kick in at. When you see your homeboy that you ain't seen in years, do you go in the rec yard and you kick it with him? When you see some of your old buddies you ain't seen in years, do you go to their cell and drink hooch with them? Or do you carry your ass to the law library and you start studying from day one? You start going there trying to figure out, let me start looking, not only go in the law library, now let me get my paperwork from my attorney. It's going to be Googobs and Googobs of paperwork. Let me see if my attorney can send me my paperwork. Let me go through my own paperwork with a fine tooth comb. And let me start going to the library. Your mindset is what does it all when you get there. Now, if you get up in that bitch and you get up in your cell and you fold up in the fetal position and start crying like a little bitch, and you don't work, and try to get your motherfucking ass up out of there or to make something out yourself, then that's on you.
Yeah.
I got a little passionate about that.
My bad.
You mentioned how he needed help, and he did have help. I don't have the name, but there was I think it was an old lawyer, a retired lawyer, possibly something on those lines, that assisted Isaac.
A disbarred lawyer. I think this lawyer was disbarred for whatever reason. I want to say alcoholism or something to that effect.
Okay.
And again, I'm not 100% sure of that. But just because you are a disbarred lawyer, no matter what you're disbarred for, it doesn't mean you still don't have that knowledge.
Right.
And so you got an individual that goes and you reaching out to somebody to help you do X, Y, and Z to help you along the way. That alluded to what I said earlier.
Right.
It's impossible without help from the outside.
Yeah. And also, just from watching the movie, it seemed that he had a little cooperation also from the warden. Now, in the movie, the warden was a female, and the female's spouse or better half was a female who was running to be district attorney. Now, I was wondering if any part of that was fictional or not, but that it did make juice. It brought juice to the story, in my opinion, because they were saying or thinking that the woman that was running for the future DA spot was running against the guy that actually had prosecuted Wright. So they were thinking that him trying to become a lawyer, they would receive flack for giving him preferential treatment, basically, just to try to go after this lawyer or this DA that attacked him. So this is the message or the idea that they had in mind that they thought would occur. However, when he started making progress, it kind of started opening more doors for him and opportunities for him to represent more convicted felons. Now, it was one felon that he was able to get off for a reduced sentence who was actually guilty. And this kind of made him second guess kind of what he was doing and the reason he was doing it. But at the same time, each case that he represented was helping him out in the plan that he had moving forward. Now,
so check this out. So two things. You said that one of the guys that he represented was actually guilty.
He was guilty.
That's proof of what I said earlier. That a defense attorney don't care whether you did do it or you didn't do it. All they do is argue the law.
And that's what he was
able to argue the law. Although that dude was guilty, but by the way the system works, let me just argue the law to see if I can be convinced to do X, Y, and Z. So
and I can't think of the legal terms, and you may know him, Freddie G, as I talk about it. But the way he got the guy off is he was put in a lineup one day, and a couple of days later he was put in a second lineup. However, the guy in the second lineup, I think it was like a lineup of 6 or 7 people. In that second lineup, he was the only person that was shown in that first lineup. So when the accuser saw both lineups, when she saw him in the second lineup, he looked familiar to her because she saw him in that first lineup. So that was a loophole that Isaac was able to bring up or identify in the case, which is what was able to get this prisoner. The government actually offered, the state actually offered him $100,000, and he was able to be released. Damn. Now, the good thing about this for the prisoners that were being represented by Isaac is they were getting a very they not knowing at the time the type of lawyer or representation that they were going to be getting by trying this guy, trusting this man. But the cost, nine times out of 10, they couldn't afford the proper lawyer to represent them, so they were being represented by defense attorney, which, like Freddie G said, they don't care whether you innocent or not. They're there to prove or to try the law. What you said, Freddie G? What was the terminology used? They're not. They don't care whether or not you innocent or not.
Yeah,
they're there to
argue the law.
Yeah,
argue that's the law. That's all that matters is that
that's
they
that
argue
legal
the
terminology right there. To argue the law.
Man, just talking on this subject, man. I know it's on topic, but a little bit off. I wonder what the percentage of truly innocent people are in jail. Because the reason why I say that, I remember when I was younger, we would get in trouble. And you remember, guys, I had a lazy eye when I was younger. So I was a little ugly boy, with the lazy eye. So something went wrong, it was the little cross-eyed boy that did it. I could be nowhere in the picture, nowhere around. I was guilty and wasn't even there.
Right.
So in my mind, I'm like, man, but you get over that feeling. But if you go to jail and you just completely innocent, I wonder what the percentage. If you sent 100 people to jail, how many are actually innocent? Like
sometimes, that's a good question, which I wouldn't know about. I don't think you'd ever really truly know the answer. But sometimes people can go to jail, and they're actually guilty of a charge, but their charges are trumped up, and they're convicted of trumped up charges. So they actually appear to be wrongfully convicted. Case in point, P. Diddy.
Yeah.
He had X amount of charges. Now, when you just take everything as a whole and you start to unpack everything, one can make an argument that the racketeering charge is a trumped up charge. You understand what I'm saying? So sometimes, there may be, and I'm not saying, that he's innocent or guilty or whatever the case may be. I'm just saying that sometimes you could be guilty of a crime, but the charges that they're charging you with are trumped up.
Right. Comedian 96, you were wondering how many.
What the percentage would be.
I'm sure, I wonder, I'm sure. I wonder if ever and whenever, police corruption has been exposed, if they go back and look at, certain cases that, may have been and could have been affected by this corruption. Because I believe, I'm sure a lot of folks will be found innocent. I know a lot of innocent people are locked up because of police corruption. So that, I think the percentage will be high, in my opinion. But after Isaac was released from prison, he pursued law, and he graduated with a degree in Bachelor's in Science in Human Services from Thomas Edison State University in 2002. He spent the next 9 years being investigated by the New Jersey Bar Committee on character before being granted admission to the bar by the New Jersey Supreme Court. And on September 27, 2017 is when he became the first and only black person in the U.S. history to have been sentenced to life in prison, securing his own release and exoneration, and then being granted a license to practice law in the very court that condemned him. So again, I really thought this was a remarkable story, man, that needed to be heard for those that may have not have heard of Isaac Wright Jr. And hopefully he can provide hope and inspiration to a lot of falsely convicted people. I appreciate y'all joining us, man. Y'all come back next week. Peace out. This concludes another True Tuesday episode, and be sure you tune in tomorrow for another episode of Women Wednesday with Freddie G. Don't forget to follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at 62 Scott Podcast. Instagram and Facebook, the 52 Scott Podcast. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like and or subscribe. And to all my 52 Scott faithfuls, it may be new to you, but if you heard it here, then you know it's true.